Yeah, there's no doubt there's a huge trend in the world of planning to put more audiences further and further up the stream, right, at the beginning of the journey. And what TransUnion does is a couple things to help that journey. I mean, one is almost no one has all the access to data that they need, so we can provide access to data in lots of different ways in a just-in-time basis, and of course also in various licensed models. We also help understand different segmentation strategies, and so we can help you get an understanding of consumers at a much more broad perspective, because when you're really looking for that consumer insight, you want to start with understanding consumer patterns and trends really before you get into that target audience. Like in that planning phase, you're really looking for the insights. So we've got a lot of tools to help you find that. And really, I think what's important though is really also to figure out why this all matters. And we've just actually finished some consumer research and shows that 40% of consumers now expect messages to be personalized and understand that that impacts their decision-making process. And that's probably actually understated. Those are consumers that understand that impact. And so in the journey to provide that personalized, relevant experience, again, you need data under the hood there, and not just about that final segment, decision, but those consumer insights. And so we've got all the tools that can help you from the population on down understand that. Again, access data that you wouldn't otherwise have exposure to, and then ultimately turn that data into segments you can activate.
Excellent. And that goes right to the other side of what advertisers now as publishers are also looking for in terms of understanding the customer journey. Talking about obviously the work that you've been doing with United Airlines Connective Media, their commerce media outlet. What can you say about the nature of that relationship and the work that you're doing for them as a publisher?
Yeah. So, the role of commerce media, retail media, whatever you want to put it, but certainly, transactional based media is certainly becoming all the rage. It makes a lot of sense. Ultimately, what we're talking about is it's a data strategy is really the point here. It's an understanding that companies like United and Connective that have direct relationship with consumers and have some insight into purchase patterns in different categories, in this case travel, have the opportunity to really do some interesting things in media because of that data, right, which is going to be predictive of other behaviors. And right now, what most marketers are still struggling with is how to find the right consumers in the right time. We did some research with Forrester not too long ago that showed that most marketers have 16 different ad/martech providers in their mix. And yet, despite all those technology choices, still most say they're not very comfortable in their ability to personalize and reach the right audience. And so the ability to perform media campaigns with companies that have that rich, unique data, that understand identity is certainly very interesting and obviously can lead to better performance. Where TransUnion comes into the mix is we're enablers of all that. We don't look to be the media provider or be the marketer. We're in the middle of helping them relate by doing a couple things. One is, despite all the data that almost any company has, like United, there's still going to be signals about identity they don't have access to. And so someone like TransUnion can help enrich and enhance that data asset. That's one thing we can do. The second thing that's really important is marketers still have media buys in lots of different places, and marketers want to work with publishers that also enable them to do the cross-platform measurement that they ultimately want to do, so they can get their ultimately true incremental reach and exposure data, and ultimately conversion data as well. And that's part of what we do as well, given our work with marketers on the measurement side, is we help enable that measurement philosophy as well. And so at the end of the day, we are providing access to a greater sense of identity data. We are enriching customers' profiles in order to have a better sense of what segments to create. We're giving United the ability to pass that data wherever it needs to go for media activation. And finally, we're enabling marketers to have the cross-platform measurement that they ultimately want.
Absolutely. So speaking of the convergence of data, identity, and travel, Cannes is fast approaching. So with that big event in mind where the industry is converging, what innovations or partnerships are you most excited about at that intersection of identity and data enrichment?
Cannes is always a great place that really gets the focus on marketing, right? At the end of the day, we highlight marketing and great advertising and great creative. Like, it's a celebration of creativity. And where the world of data meets that world of can is continuing to evolve is because so much of what continues to be proven is that great creative strategy does come from great data strategy as well. And so we're constantly interested in that intersection. How does an understanding of audiences at both a very granular level, but also at a macro cohort level, but with more insights than the industry might be used to, or parts of the industry might be used to, it's clearly an evolution, is how can you see those types of consumer audience insight applied to creative strategy? We kind of know how that's done at the most performance-driven media level, but increasingly we're seeing how that moves up funnel and really that brand as performance kind of idea. And so I'm constantly interested to see unique examples of where that type of innovation is happening, where we continue to recognize that data isn't about a part of your marketing strategy. It actually should surround all of your marketing strategies from the top of the funnel onto the performance lens. And so I expect we'll see more and more interesting examples of that in Cannes this year.
Definitely. And so taking another angle at the identity and data question, the idea of identity resolution. And I think we first met when you were at Resolution Media not too long ago. But wanted to know, what role does identity resolution play in creating a seamless commerce media experience?
Yeah, identity resolution is really key to this whole ecosystem right now. And what I mean by that is the whole marketing and media activation game. I suppose the question is why? Well, ultimately, all the different players in this industry have different fragments of information. And consumers, as we transact with different players, we often use different information. I have multiple email addresses, and I use different ones in different instances. I also am part of a household. Sometimes my wife purchases the product, sometimes I purchase the product, but we're still one household. We don't purchase it twice. So if you really think about what marketers what are we all after at the end of the day, it comes back to the same thing marketing's always been about, right? The right person at the right time with the right message. Well, to do that ever more effectively, at the end of the day, that is an identity resolution challenge. It isn't just about having fragments of data and hoping that it's right or doing that in silos. Ultimately, everyone would like to connect that uniform customer journey across all the different touch points we use, and that is an owned media and marketing journey. That's a purchased media journey, all the different flavors that come with it. It's an in-store, it's an online journey, it's all the things. Well, in order to have any consistency, in order to really under the hood understand that consumer journey and know how you're reaching them, understand which different touch points are incrementally helping you drive conversions, that fundamentally is an identity resolution challenge. And so what companies like ours are doing is to create the ecosystem to solve that problem so that marketers and media companies don't have to try to replicate that on their own, which really it's pretty hard. This is a data science problem, and a really deep, rich data science problem. I think that's often maybe not misunderstood, but underappreciated. It's also a data access problem. You have to have enough data and enough different touch points and signals to do that. And then you also have to make sure all of that data science and data can be at the right place at the right time. And so it's a distribution and it's a piping problem too. So there's a lot under the hood there. So I actually think identity resolution is the fundamental gateway to the personalized world of marketing we're all trying to create and which consumers expect. And that's why we're here focused on that real swim lane of it all to enable great marketing and great media to happen around it.
Well, would love to also see how you apply that general theory of identity resolution, unification maybe, with respect, getting back to the work that you're doing with United Airlines and Connected Media. Is there special criteria for travel as you might be a leisure traveler, you may be a business traveler, but you may still be going to United? How does that work out?
So the core challenge in every category is the same, which is you probably have fragments of information. And again, could be that you have a different email address. It could be that you only work in an online capacity, not a mobile capacity. You might not have that signal. It could be that you have an online and a mobile signal, but not a streaming signal, and you want a streaming TV signal in order to do your campaign. So the core foundation of an identity resolution challenge really is kind of category agnostic. What gets added onto that, though, are the interesting insights about consumers. And I think about that more as the audience profile piece of the understanding of past behaviors, of interests that could lead to smart segmentation strategies. Ultimately, those two things are linked in that if you don't have enough addressable signals, you can't find the right kind of behavioral inferences you're looking for. And so from that perspective, there will be unique signals that exist for the travel marketplace. It could be certainly signs of past purchase behavior of an airline ticket, but not yet a hotel, and that can obviously lead to very interesting insights for someone like a United. But it also can be non-endemic. where, hey, if you're going on a trip and you know it's a leisure travel, have you seen other purchase behavior or other interests that might also tie at that moment? And so we can help with all that type of signal that I think extends beyond somewhat of the core identity resolution challenge into that kind of targeting and segmentation strategy. But to the point here, they're pretty blended, and our job, again, is to help facilitate that as best we can.
Well said. So wanted to look at the flip side of some of the efficiencies that you've created with better targeting and identity resolution. The question of privacy-centric data environments is another thing that is a never-ending battle. So with that in mind, how can advertisers still gain meaningful insights about consumer behavior while still obviously respecting that privacy demand?
Yeah, I don't think of privacy and personalization at odds. We talk about this a decent bit at TransUnion. They are compatriots, if you will. They are two things that go hand in hand. They're not opposites. And what do I mean by that? At the ends of the spectrum, there's a lot of bad behavior, which we can all acknowledge just needs to go away. And companies like TransUnion that have been in a highly regulated industry for its existence, and part of the reason we are in this marketing space is because we have those capabilities, because we understand how to treat data securely, to understand consumer consent, and to treat privacy appropriately. That's easily to do. That's not easy to do. It's complicated to do, but it's easy to have a focus on it. But the idea that that's the opposite of personalization is where we really challenge it. And we say, no, listen, there's right ways to do both. Now, it depends on the scenario. What is that right way? Is it about cohorting? Is it about suppressing certain signals? Is it about understanding what the rights are of the consented data? All those things need to be managed. But I think the notion that we're headed towards a world where as consumer privacy takes more front and center stage for us in this industry, it's not, quote, more important. I think some people make that mistake. It's always been important, but the industry hasn't always done as good of a job as necessary to manage it. But as we do that right, and again, companies like TransUnion are leading the way and making sure that that is part of what is the core of this ecosystem, we're really emphasizing do that and personalize. And how do you marry those things just as natural, pair versus thinking about it as a trade-off?
Personalization, privacy, not opposing sides.
That's right. That's right.
So with respect to the rise of commerce media and retail media networks, looking at the greater importance now of first-party data, how should advertisers think about integrating that first-party data with identity-powered solutions to influence planning decisions? And again, also that privacy layer does come in, which you just very aptly explained.
Yeah. Everyone should use as much of their own customer data as possible. Right? It's a great starting point. But there's a couple things about that as the sole component of your strategy. Again, start there. But if you finish with only about making it your own data, then a couple things are likely true. One is you only have a limited set of known customers, however big. And some of the biggest companies, those are pretty big footprints. But for most companies, there's going to be a limited size of that audience. So number one, I often say you're fishing where you've already caught fish, right? So it's kind of like a retargeting strategy. You want to do that, but if you overemphasize that, you can't grow the pie. You can't grow your business as much as you would like. So at one part, it's like great starter, but then you've got to be an add-on, right? And so we say it's not an either or. It's a use that base signal, and then how can you enrich that signal through modeling, through appending, through cleansing of your data to ensure you have all the component parts that allows you to then go from a smaller audience and segment strategy to a larger one. Again, if you want growth, there undoubtedly is a need to find new customers, and even with your current customers, you're going to not likely have all the signal you would want. So how do you enhance your own data set by recognizing what's your share of wallet, by recognizing family dimensions, by other demographic signals that likely as a marketer selling some goods are not the type of data that you just sit on, right? You'll have some of that signal, but probably not all of it. And so we say constantly, we take as much of our clients' first-party data as we can as that seed, as that builder of a custom graph and a custom view of how you kind of take identity to market. But we've found very, very few cases, if any, where that's enough to actually grow your business.